The scream never came. That's what haunted Elena Martinez most during those endless nights when she jolted awake, her heart racing, replaying the accident in her mind. The screeching tires, the shattering glass, her husband's final breath, and through it all, 5-year-old Sofia had been completely, utterly silent. Not a cry, not a whimper. The doctor said there was nothing physically wrong with her vocal cords. Her daughter had simply chosen silence, retreating into a world where words no longer existed, where speaking meant remembering, and remembering meant reliving the moment that destroyed their family. 2 years had passed since that day. Elena had thrown herself into her work, building her tech company into an empire, believing that success could somehow fill the gaping hole in their lives. She hired the best therapists, consulted specialists across 3 continents, tried every treatment imaginable. Sofia remained locked in her silent prison, communicating only through drawings and the occasional nod or shake of her head. Elena watched other children laugh and chatter at birthday parties they attended, felt the weight of pitying glances from other mothers, and died a little inside each time someone asked when Sofia would start talking again. She had no answer. She had stopped believing in answers. If you believe in the power of healing, in second chances, and in miracles that come when we least expect them, please hit that like button, leave a comment sharing your thoughts, and subscribe to this channel. Your support means everything, and this story might just change how you see the world around you. It was a crisp autumn Saturday when Elena decided to take Sofia to Riverside Park, a place they used to visit before the accident, when her husband would push Sofia on the swings, and her laughter would echo across the playground like music. Elena had avoided it for 2 years, but her therapist insisted that avoiding the past wasn't protecting Sofia, it was imprisoning her. So there they were, Elena's hand clasped tightly around her daughter's small fingers, walking through fallen leaves toward the colorful playground equipment that stood like cheerful monuments to a childhood. Sofia seemed determined to refuse. The playground was busy with families enjoying the perfect weather. Elena found a bench where she could watch Sofia, who stood motionless near the slide, observing other children with those impossibly sad eyes that broke Elena's heart daily. She was about to call her daughter over, to suggest they leave this terrible idea behind, when a soccer ball rolled directly into Sofia's path, followed immediately by a young boy around her age, maybe 6 or 7, with wild curly hair and a gap-toothed smile that could light up the darkest room. Behind him came a man in his early 30s, slightly disheveled, with paint stains on his jeans and the kind of exhausted eyes that Elena recognized immediately as those of a single parent barely holding everything together. The boy retrieved his ball and said something to Sofia, who predictably didn't respond. Instead of running away like most children did when faced with Sofia's silence, the boy simply smiled wider and started making exaggerated silly faces, crossing his eyes and puffing out his cheeks like a confused fish. The man approached Elena's bench, offering an apologetic smile. He introduced himself as Marcus Webb, explained that his son Danny had been born deaf but received cochlear implants 2 years ago, and that Danny had an uncanny ability to connect with other kids who were different. Marcus didn't ask why Sofia didn't speak. He didn't offer unsolicited advice or share the contact information for some miracle specialist. He simply sat down, and together they watched their children exist in that space where words weren't necessary for understanding. Over the next hour, something extraordinary happened. Danny didn't pressure Sofia to respond. He simply included her in his world, showing her his favorite climbing spot, sharing his snacks without expectation of reciprocation, narrating his entire imaginary adventure story where they were both brave knights fighting invisible dragons. Marcus explained to Elena that Danny had learned sign language before he could hear, and even now, he often preferred the visual language of gestures and expressions because it felt more honest somehow, more direct than the complicated world of spoken words that could lie and hurt and confuse. Elena felt something crack open inside her chest, some wall she'd built from guilt and grief, and the crushing weight of trying to fix her daughter instead of simply being present with her pain. She watched Sofia's face transform slowly, a ghost of interest flickering in her eyes, the tiniest upturn at the corner of her mouth when Danny pretended to be defeated by an imaginary monster. It was more emotion than Elena had seen from her daughter in months. They returned to that playground the next Saturday, and the Saturday after that. It became their routine, this unspoken arrangement between two broken families finding unexpected solace in each other's company. Marcus shared his story in pieces, how his wife left when Danny's deafness was diagnosed, how he'd learned to braid his daughter's hair through YouTube videos at 2 in the morning, how some days he felt like he was drowning and other days he felt invincible. Elena found herself opening up in ways she hadn't since the accident, admitting her fears that Sofia would never recover, that she'd failed as a mother, that she didn't know how to save her own child from drowning in trauma. It was the 7th Saturday, nearly 2 months after their first meeting, when everything changed. The children were playing near the swings, and Danny had convinced Sofia to sit on one while he pushed her gently. Elena watched, her heart simultaneously soaring and breaking at this small victory. Marcus was telling her about Danny's upcoming school concert when they heard it. A sound so faint, Elena thought she'd imagined it at first. But Marcus had frozen mid-sentence, his eyes wide, staring toward the children. Sofia was swinging higher now, and from her lips came a sound that started as a whisper and grew into something more. Not words yet, but laughter, genuine and pure and absolutely real. A sound Elena hadn't heard in 730 days. A sound she'd begun to believe she might never hear again. Tears streamed down Elena's face as she watched Danny pump his fist in triumph, as if he'd known all along that Sofia's voice was just waiting for the right moment, the right friend, the right reason to emerge from hiding. And then, as the swing reached its highest point, Sofia looked directly at Danny and spoke her first words in 2 years. They were simple, just 3 small words that contained entire universes of healing and hope and new beginnings. She said, barely louder than a breath, but clear as cathedral bells to Elena's desperate ears, "Push me higher." If this story touched your heart, if you believe in the unexpected ways healing finds us, please take a moment to like this video, share it with someone who needs hope today, and leave a comment below. Your engagement helps spread these stories of resilience and love to others who need them most. Marcus caught Elena's eye across the playground, and in his knowing smile, she saw reflected everything she was feeling, the overwhelming relief, the gratitude for chance encounters that become lifelines, the understanding that sometimes the people who save us are the ones struggling through their own darkness, finding their way by the same uncertain light. Comment below what Sofia's first words mean to you and how small acts of kindness have changed your life. The sun set over Riverside Park that evening, painting the sky in shades of gold and amber, and for the first time since the accident, Elena felt something she'd forgotten how to feel. Not happiness exactly, not yet, but something close. Something like hope. Something like the possibility that broken things could be gently, patiently, lovingly coaxed back into wholeness by the most unexpected hands. Sofia's voice had returned not through expensive therapy or medical intervention, but through the simple gift of a lonely boy who understood that communication was about connection, not words, and that sometimes the bravest thing we can do is trust someone else with our silence until we're ready to speak again.